Welcome to Beyond the Lab, a series by the Office of Career Development within the Biomedical Research, Education, and Training Department of the Vanderbilt University School of Medicine. My name is Kate Stewart. I'm here today with Omari Bandele, who was in the Biochemistry Department when you were here.
Correct.
Thank you for coming back. Tell us about your time at Vanderbilt.
Okay, so I was in Neil Osheroff's lab in the biochemistry department. So coming to Vanderbilt, I came from an institution that wasn't really research intensive. So coming here, I learned a lot about just the research process, how you design experiments, how to write manuscripts, present your data. So I learned a lot just by being here at Vanderbilt, and I appreciate Dr. Chalkley and Dr. Seelig and everyone for instilling in me a lot of the foundation that has carried me on to my career.
Good. So what do you do now?
So right now I'm actually a toxicology reviewer. Other titles are regulatory scientist or scientific reviewer. So any of those three titles would fit under what I do right now. I work for the Food and Drug Administration, the FDA, in Maryland, in College Park specifically.
Okay.
There are actually several different FDA centers, and the center where I work is actually the Center for Foods. So we're actually located in College Park, whereas the rest of the center for the most part is in Silver Spring, Maryland.
Gotcha. So what do you do every day at the FDA?
Okay, as a toxicology reviewer, I am in the Office of Food Additive Safety within the Center for Food Safety and Applied Nutrition. So it's a lot of acronyms at FDA. That's one thing that a lot of people always joke about, acronyms. So within the Office of Food Additive Safety, I am in the Division of Food Contact Notifications. So basically what we deal with, we regulate food contact materials. And so basically anything in the grocery store that touches your food, more than likely, some of those chemicals, those products have been regulated by our office before they are marketed into in the grocery store. And so as a toxicology reviewer, we actually review applications from companies that want to, say, for example, a plastic bottle that holds your water, Smart Water, Dasani, all those products, the materials can actually migrate into food. The chemicals from the containers can migrate into food. We have to make sure that those chemicals are safe for human consumption. And so basically what we do is evaluate the safety data from the companies when they submit their applications.
Awesome. So how did you get this job at the FDA? It sounds wonderful.
Well, that wasn't a straightforward process, as I learned as a graduate student. You know, the career symposium, I attended one of them during my time here, and you learn that most people's path is not straightforward. Mine wasn't either. As a graduate student, I was just focusing on just finishing up and graduating. So I didn't think a whole lot about career and what I wanted to do next. So after graduate school, I knew how to do research. And so I said, okay, I'm going to just do a postdoc. And I decided to go to the NIH. There's an NIH center in North Carolina called the National Institute of Environmental Health Sciences, NIEHS. So I spent 2 years there. And I decided during that time to focus on research, but at the same time focus on my career development. And the NIH has a great career development office. And so during that time, they put on career symposiums, seminars, and I heard about regulatory science. And that kind of sparked an interest in me. And I said, that's what I want to do. And from that point on, I just networked a lot. Actually, one of the ladies that was over the career development office, she put me in contact with several people up in North Carolina. And I got an application, submitted it. And 2 weeks later, I got a call, and I've been up there ever since.
Awesome. So go ahead.
So there, I started off in the research lab still at the FDA. So I was in a toxicology laboratory, and then from there, I transitioned to the position that I am in now. And it was mostly networking that actually got me from all these positions. Networking was the key.
Awesome. So how is this job a good fit for you personally with your skill set, but also your interest level?
From the standpoint where it fits the most, and I hear a lot of graduate students, I also complained about this as well when I was in graduate school. You do the research, even as a postdoc, you do the research and you don't know how that fits into the big picture. Whether what you're doing, what you're publishing is actually going to have any type of impact. You know, it could be years down the line, if ever. So one of the main things is from the standpoint of how it fits me, is that kind of the faster satisfaction or gratification of the work that I do and seeing why it's important. So like I said, you go in the grocery store. Every time I go into the grocery store now, I never thought about food contact materials or food contact substances, but now every time I go in the grocery store, I'm looking. You may see me picking up a container, looking at the bottom, looking at the plastics, looking at all these things, and I was like, wow, this is this is part of what I do, and I'm helping to keep everyone, including myself, safe from these chemicals. And that's pretty much for the most part how it fits in. It also is better work-life balance. So from that standpoint, I like to have work-life balance as much as possible. And working where I work now, especially in the government or wherever, the work-life balance is pretty good. It's not in research where you're dealing with cells and animals and you have to kind of be on their schedule going into the lab. Here, you do the work will be there the next day. You come back in the next day and you continue to work hard, and then I like that, So you clock out and you think about it the next day.
Nice.
Yeah.
So you mentioned in your earlier that you have done a lot of networking. So tell me about your personal strategies on how you accomplish that.
Got you. So I know this is also a challenge, just speaking from previous graduate students and also thinking about myself. A lot of scientists are known to be introverts, and we don't like to network, and I'm guilty of that as well. One of the things is I just try to push myself. I know I have to try to look at the bigger picture. What do you want to do? How are you going to get there? And you just have to face some of those fears and being uncomfortable. One of the good things is from networking, when I've met with people, they've helped me from the standpoint of being a little bit reserved because they're actually interested. And they show their interest in telling you about what they do. So they're happy to help. And so from that standpoint, I would say anyone who is hesitant, who's an introvert, who doesn't really like to network, a lot of people like to talk about themselves. They like to talk about what they do. So if you can just tap into that and just sit back and listen, it'll be more comfortable. It's not as bad as you think.
Good. Okay. So tell me about if someone who approaches you and says, I'm really interested in working for the FDA or working in regulatory, what would you tell them to pursue right now as their current students?
From the standpoint of regulatory science, that's a difficult question. It's a good question, but it's a difficult question. And it's a question that I hear a lot of my colleagues try to answer as well. Doing what we do on a day-to-day basis, you're not going to learn those skills necessarily until you actually get on the job, and that's the difficult part of getting your foot in the door. So it can be difficult from the standpoint of answering the question of how do you prepare for these types of positions. But I would say, from my background, toxicology, try to take some toxicology courses, work. So how I got my foot in the door, I joined the toxicology division within the FDA, and I started doing research that way. So that kind of gave me a few feathers in my cap when I applied for this particular position. I would also say so another thing I have not mentioned is called the ORISE fellowships, the Oak Ridge Institute for Science and Education. That was how I actually got the research position. So I would say those types of fellowships will help you get your foot in the door. FDA uses a lot of ORISE, not uses, but they actually are. That's one way that they actually can get fellows into the FDA to learn and develop their skill sets through the ORISE fellowship. So that is one thing that I would suggest if you're interested in the FDA is to look up these ORISE fellowships, because I had no idea about ORISE fellowships until I networked. And networking actually opened my eyes to that opportunity.
Awesome. So sort of as your last question, what makes you excited to go to work? What are the things that you really love about your job?
So at at CFSAN, the Center for Food Safety and Applied Nutrition, they do a great job of career development within the center. They realize that with the federal government workforce is aging. There are a lot of baby boomers. And so at this point, they're trying to put a lot of emphasis in developing the next level of the next crop of leaders. And so from that standpoint, I'm currently in a leadership program at CFSAN, and that actually for the past year has made me very energetic, because I can see how I'm developing myself as a professional, as a leader. I'm learning more about myself through the assessments that they give us, and so from that standpoint, I'm actually kind of excited for that next step in my career. I'm currently, again, a toxicology reviewer, but I see options and opportunities in the forefront, and how I can use these leadership skills that they're actually putting the energy and resources into us to make us the next leaders. So that's something I'm very excited about. It's not a day-to-day thing, but it is definitely something that I can see as far as career progression. I appreciate them for actually putting those resources into us.
Awesome. Thank you so much for your time and for coming back today.
Thank you.